Alright, getting going this morning. I'm going to go ahead and put the plug-ins on the EGT module for the AEM. So I cut these wires to length and then put these ends on them. Those will plug into the module right here. And obviously that's capable for an 8-cylinder, so we'll be using 1 through 4. I made up this harness yesterday, covered in the braided sock and then heat shrinked on either end. Those come off the stainless steel nuts that were welded into the header, and then these are EGT probes, and I'll just run across the other side. Went through a bulkhead fitting right there. Wiring to do firewall forward. I've got the battery coming, or the charge wire coming to the battery from the regulator, and then I also have the relay that needs to go in for the starter. I just have to decide where that's going to be mounted, and that comes in here to the starter. So just kind of tidying up some of the small stuff. The small stuff's going to be what takes so long. I mentioned the other day I got the oil reservoir mounted, real happy with how that came out, and waiting on a couple parts for the cooling system and the heater. So I've got some connections that need to come in through to the heater. So once all that's done, I can start doing the windshield. Alright, so just finished installing the rheostat for the fan. All the power's run. That's for the new heater core. So we turn it all the way on. You hear it spool up. So pretty good airflow, and then I can back it off. And turn it off. So the adjustment's going to be like low, high. There's not a whole lot in between. We can turn on high here. Bring it back about half. You hear it spool down a little bit. And that's the low end there. That's blowing some pretty good air. Pretty good suction up through the top. So what that's going to do is going to suck air from inside behind the firewall here, or I mean behind the instrument panel. Suck air through the radiator, which is going to have the coolant running through it, and then it's going to blow it out through these vent holes. There's 4 of them. I mentioned before, I'll probably plug this one here and use 3 of them. The front 2, one on this side and one on the other side, will be to distribute heat here and down here. And then I'll take one of the back ones and run it up to a defrost vent on the glare shield for defrosting the window. I think it's going to work pretty good. We'll see how much heat it puts out. You know, it's not nearly the size of like the one that comes with the Rotax, but the BTU rating is higher, so we'll see how it does. Of course, you do have to have, your coolant has to be warm in order for you to get that heat. Unlike an exhaust shrouded heater like you have on a Lycoming, you get the heat much quicker on an exhaust shroud heater because you got that hot exhaust coming out almost immediately. So this one, you're gonna have to wait for the aircraft to warm up, engine to warm up before you're gonna get any heat. But you know, that's water cooled, that's the way it works. So next up is the ignition wiring. See how I cleaned it all up, took the battery out so I could do that, and ran everywhere there's a zip tie. I put this, it's called rescue tape, and I've talked about it before. It's this stuff right here. It only sticks to itself, and it's basically just a thin piece of rubber, and you can wrap it around the wiring, and the Ziploc ties provide that rubber barrier, so you'd probably be fine with just that, but it helps bundle the wires nice and tight and then you can wrap your zip tie around that, so it's basically double rubber insulated. So you're not going to get any chafing or wear through the wires by doing that. And so you just do it where you want to bundle them together, wrap that, and put the zip tie on it. It's a good way to keep your wires together. So those are all run nice and clean. I've got a little bit of work to do right here. I'm going to run a hot wire bus right here for basically run the battery to it, and then the starter solenoid and a couple other things are going to run off of that hot terminal. So that's on order, waiting for that. Just cleaned up everything. There's a couple things that aren't being used I didn't want to cut out, like this plug goes to the monitor. I've got the GPS antenna to still mount. This is an input or an output from the GPS, the Grand Rapids SafeFly GPS, that I don't want to cut off, so I may end up using that on something else. But just tidied everything up. See it on the other side. Got all these wires running down here, they're all nice and tight. This was a mess in here with the wiring from the AEM device. You know, the harness is just kind of made generically, so it doesn't account for where you're specifically going to mount stuff. So I was able to clean it up pretty good in there, but that's, you know, obviously if you're going to wire it specifically for the aircraft, you get these wires a little more clean, but it's not bad really. I got everything routed pretty good in there. Just got to cut off all the zip ties, and I'm sure that's how everything goes. And as far as that starter solenoid, I'm going to show you what I did there. So here's your battery coming in. I made this bracket. It just slips into a rubber sheath that this solenoid pops into. And then this wire plug comes in, that goes out to the key and then to a hot terminal. And then the wire comes off the solenoid and over to the starter right here. So I made and ran that wire today, and I've got that hot side terminal battery. That's just going to come down to that hot terminal, so that's only going to be about that long. And I'll put that right now, so I haven't cut that wire yet. And then this is going up to that contactor from the hot side, and then also this comes in from the voltage regulator or rectifier, and it's going to charge the battery. So all that's going to go to that hot battery terminal that I'm going to put right here. Also got the right size bolt for the bottom engine mount. It's in. Made additional holes to mount this tray on the outside edge, so once the battery is back in there, that'll be mounted down permanently. Alright guys, so just finished up the welding of the 1-inch barbs into the Moroso reservoir. Yeah, they're alright. It's not like it's factory quality. You can see that's the factory one right there. That's my job there. It came out alright. I mean, there's a little unevenness in some of the dabs, but looks like it's going to work out pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and get that mounted up and finish up the coolant system. All right, so this is the main fuel line from the bulkhead to the fuel rail, and I've done some Dell, I believe is what it is, fire sleeve. So I'm going to put that on, so it slides just up over the fittings, and then it's got some tape that you use to finish off the ends, and then I'll probably do a little bit of safety wire wrap right underneath the tape. So I'll safety wire it, put the tape on, and then that will be the main fuel line. Obviously you didn't have fire sleeve on the snowmobile, but if your snowmobile catches on fire, you can just jump off. Pretty standard on aircraft to have all your fuel lines from the firewall forward covered in fire sleeve. So I'm going to continue on with that practice even with this application. So I've got one more to do on the return line, and then the fuel line will be finished. And let's run by what I've got done today so far. Got the coolant systems done. So I was able to connect the line that came off of the heat exchanger, goes into the firewall, it's down there. It's through the firewall to the heater core, out of the heater core, up over to the thermostat. So that was all done today. And then I finished the welds up on that coolant reservoir. It's mounted to the firewall, and then the coolant lines are going in the bottom. That goes down to the radiator. And then on the other side, you've got the line that comes out to the T-fitting, comes up to the bottom of the thermostat housing, and then out of the top of the thermostat housing into the top of the coolant reservoir with 180 degrees. So that's in there. And then your line off of the block, off the head. So that's all in, done, tight. Had enough clamps and everything to get it done. The only thing I'm still going to do is remove this line here, and I've got a new blue section to go right here. So I'll put a new piece in there just to finish it up. It's one size smaller. And then went ahead and finished up the oil lines. This line from the oil temperature sensor to the reservoir, I'm still going to change though, because it's got a pre-bend in it. That's why I got it zip tied here. I don't want to have all that there. It's kind of loading that hose. It's pre-bent to fit the snowmobile application, so I need a 5/8 line. So I will change that section to there. Other than that, I mean, it's good to go to try it out anyways. The breather line comes up. I cut one of those. I still need to clamp that down. But I changed the length of one of those to keep it from being up too high on the cowling. You've got your oil filler there. We'll probably have a cowl door on that location. And let's see. So that's about it today. So what we're doing now is we're doing this fuel line that I just showed you is going to attach to the fuel rail right at this fitting that has the fuel pressure sensor in it. So I also have to permanently mount that. It's just hand tight on there right now. And then the fuel hose will come across here and down to the bulkhead. And then I've got to do the same thing with the return line, and that will run down into this other fitting there. And then the fuel system will be complete. Oil system will be complete. Cooling system will be complete. I'll probably start by filling it full of oil. First thing I want to do though is, this is the old filter on here. So I pull the filter, put a brand new filter on. It is drained of oil right now, so it should be empty. Then I'll fill it up full of oil, fill it full of coolant, and then from the header forward, the fuel system is done. And I can fill the header full of fuel, and then we can possibly get this thing running next week. Alright, so you can see the safety wire on it now, twisted, tucked in on both ends. So next it comes with this tape here, and it's actually the same stuff I've been showing you guys, that rescue tape that sticks to itself. So we're just going to go around pull it tight, it sticks just to itself, and then sticks to itself, so you got to be careful there not to mess it all up like I just did. But I'm going to come around, we're going to wrap that forward up until we get to the fitting. Just like that. Alright, here's fuel line number 2. It's going to go down the bulkhead. And then this fitting up top, there's no AN fitting. It's just going to use a switch because it's a return line, low pressure. But it is fuel sleeved as well, so I get that installed. Alright, so the fuel system is now complete from the header tank forward. So you can see the 2 firewall pass-throughs here, fire sleeved lines coming up. This is your feed line, high pressure line. It comes up to a 90-degree fitting, and then a fitting with a port for the fuel pressure sending unit. And then from there, a quick disconnect onto the fuel rail. Comes down the fuel rail, into the engine. Any excess comes through this regulated return line. So the regulated pressure or regulated return line is going to come off right there. Goes back down to the firewall. And then those go through, and I've showed the rest of the system before on that installation. So those are done, coolant's done, oil's done. We could run this puppy as soon as I get an air box on there. So what we're going to tackle next is complete the air box mold. I don't know if I've gone over too much of that yet, but making the air box mold, and we're going to wrap that with carbon fiber, which came in, most of the supplies came in for. So that's going to go right in this area here. And we have to have a breather go in there. We've got to have a air sensor that goes in there, and then a couple other little goodies we're going to put in there as well, along with these boots. We'll go in the air box coming off each of the intake ports. So that's tomorrow's project. Get back to the air box.
Lane 1, here we go! Lane 2, here we go! 3, 2, 1, see ya!
Alright, I'm going to wrap this one up here with some scenes from the High Sierra last year. Really missed out on the event. It would have been last weekend. So just a couple clips in here about how much fun it was at High Sierra last year. Looking forward to this COVID thing being over so we can get back to having fun in the desert next year. And thanks for watching, guys. Next one we'll get into the cowling. So stay tuned for that.
Good flying, Brian. That's a good one. Good job, Alex. Get her stopped. Good time here. Brian cleared the taxi. Alex cleared the taxi when you stop.